James Mitchell, full YouTube script, male narrator. Family betrayal plus financial. Cold and assertive. Sign it, James, or we'll make sure you have nothing left to sign for. My own brother said that to me. Across the table. In the house our father built with his bare hands. I looked at him. I looked at the document. I looked at the family sitting around that room like this was completely normal. And I smiled. Because what none of them knew was that I had already made one phone call. One quiet, careful phone call. And that call had started a process that was about to unravel everything they thought they had built against me. My name is James Mitchell. I am 38 years old. I spent 16 years working inside my family's real estate business. Not as a figurehead, not as a name on a door. I managed contracts. I handled vendor negotiations. I reviewed financial filings. I knew every property, every deal, every account number in that company like I knew my own handwriting. My father started the business from nothing. He poured his health into it. When he passed 3 years ago, he left equal shares to me and my older brother, Derek. Equal. That word is important. Remember it. Derek had always been the one my father trusted with relationships, charm, handshakes, golf course conversations. I was the one who understood the actual numbers. And for a long time, we balanced each other. But grief does something strange to people. It reveals them. The moment my father's will was read, Derek stopped being my brother. He became something else. Calculated, territorial, and very, very careful about what he let me see. I noticed small things first. Meeting invites I stopped receiving. Financial summaries that arrived late, incomplete, or not at all. Vendors I had worked with for years suddenly going quiet when I called. I'm not a man who panics. I observe. I collect. I wait. And I noticed everything. Subscribe if you've ever been pushed out of something that was rightfully yours. Hit that hype button if you've ever had to outthink someone who thought they had already won. It started with a signature. 6 months after my father's funeral, Derek called a family meeting. Our mother was there, his wife, 2 cousins who worked minor roles in the company. I walked into my father's old office and the air smelled like old leather and stale coffee. The kind of smell that used to mean safety. That day, it meant something else entirely. Derek slid a document across the desk. We're restructuring, he said. Operational efficiency. Dad would have wanted this. I picked up the papers. They were dense. Deliberately dense. The kind of legal language designed to make a reasonable person skim and sign. I didn't skim. I read every line, slowly. And 3 pages in, I found it. A clause that transferred primary financial authority to a newly created managing director position. A position that, by the next page, was already filled. By Derek. I set the papers down. This removes me from financial oversight completely, I said. Derek leaned back. It streamlines things, James. You're not a details guy anymore. We're growing. I had managed the company's finances for 11 years. I built the oversight system he was now using to remove me. I said nothing else in that meeting. I took my copy of the document. I stood up. I walked out. That was the moment I stopped being a brother and started being a problem they needed to solve. What followed was methodical, quiet, and completely invisible to them. Derek and 2 of my cousins had been rerouting income from 3 of our highest performing properties. Not dramatically. Not in a way that screamed fraud from the first glance. Small percentages. Consistent intervals. Routed through a separate LLC that had been registered 8 months before my father died. 8 months. That detail hit me harder than anything else. They had started planning this before we had even buried him. I found the LLC registration through a routine document search. I cross-referenced it against our vendor payment records. The pattern was clean, but it was there. Patient eyes will always find what rushed hands try to hide. My mother believed Derek completely. He had always been better at warmth, at sitting beside her and holding her hand and saying the right things. She told me once, James, you need to stop making this difficult. Derek is holding this family together. I didn't argue with her. There was no point. She was seeing the performance. I was reading the script behind it. Then came the pressure campaign. Derek began telling extended family that I was emotionally unstable after our father's death. That grief had made me paranoid and difficult to work with at a cousin's birthday dinner. His wife leaned over to someone and said quietly, though not quietly enough. James was always the complicated one. The table shifted uncomfortably. I cut my steak and kept eating. Let them talk. 3 months before that final document signing meeting, I had already contacted a forensic accounting firm. Privately, I gave them access to every record I had legally retained copies of. I wasn't guessing anymore. I had a professional building the case with me, brick by brick, number by number. I also called an attorney, not a general family lawyer, a specialist in business fraud and estate disputes. She was sharp, unhurried, and completely unimpressed by family loyalty as a legal argument. I told no one, not a single person. The quieter I got, the more confident Derek became. And confidence, when it's built on arrogance, always overreaches. He scheduled the final meeting, the one where I was supposed to sign away my financial standing in the company my father built. He brought the whole family in like witnesses, like the presence of people who loved my father would somehow make what he was doing feel legitimate. Sign it, James, or we'll make sure you have nothing left to sign for. I had let him believe until that exact moment that I was cornered. I reached into the folder I had brought with me. I placed a document on the table, then another, then a third. I'm not signing your restructuring agreement, I said, but you should probably read what I've already filed. The room went very still. My attorney had submitted a formal fraud complaint to the State Business Regulatory Authority 2 weeks earlier. The forensic accounting firm's preliminary report was attached. 41 pages. Specific, dated, documented. Derek's face changed in a way I had never seen before. The charm disappeared. Underneath it was something smaller, something afraid. What is this? He said. His voice was flat. It's the pattern, I said. 18 months of transfers. The LLC you registered while Dad was still alive. The vendor payments that never reached company accounts. All of it. My mother looked at Derek, not at me. At him. Derek, she said. Just his name. But the way she said it asked every question at once. He tried. He said the accounting firm had misread the structure. He said the LLC was for tax efficiency. He said I had misunderstood the intent. He used the word misunderstanding 4 times in 6 minutes. I counted. My attorney, joining by phone as we had arranged, calmly stated that the regulatory authority had already acknowledged the complaint and initiated a preliminary review. That the LLC structure, combined with the transfer pattern, met the threshold for further investigation. Nobody spoke after that. The cousins looked at the table. Derek's wife stared at the wall. My mother sat with her hands folded and her eyes closed. Derek had built his entire move on the assumption that I would feel too much, that brotherhood would slow me down, that grief would cloud my thinking, that I would prioritize keeping peace over keeping what was mine. He had mistaken my silence for weakness. That was his only real mistake, and it cost him everything. I looked at him across that table and said, "You used Dad's name to build something he would never have allowed. I'm not going to let that stand." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The regulatory review moved quickly. The forensic report was thorough enough that an external audit was ordered within weeks. Derek was removed from the managing director role pending the investigation. The LLC was frozen. My mother stopped speaking to Derek for 2 months. That was not something I wanted. But truth has consequences that belong to the people who chose to hide it. My attorney and I worked through a court-supervised process to restore the original ownership structure my father had intended. Equal. That word. The one I told you to remember. It held up in every document, every filing, every conversation. Because my father had been careful, and I had been his student. Derek and I have not spoken since that meeting. I don't know if we ever will. I am not angry. Anger is expensive, and I've already paid enough. What I feel is clear. Clear-eyed about who people are when the stakes are real. Clear about what I owe my father's legacy. Clear about the fact that staying silent to keep a false peace is just a slower way of losing. I rebuilt the oversight systems. I brought in an independent financial auditor on a permanent basis. The business is stable. My father's work continues. And I sleep without the weight of pretending everything is fine. If someone in your life is pressuring you to sign something without fully understanding it, stop. Read every line. Ask every question. Bring someone who knows the language they're using. Documents are where real intentions live. Have you ever been pushed out of something that belonged to you? Have you ever watched someone use family loyalty as a weapon? Drop your story in the comments. I want to read it. Subscribe if you've ever had to protect yourself from the people who were supposed to protect you. Hit hype to send this story to someone who needs to hear it right now.